My loving students and my respected followers, today our class you see here narration of imperative sentence. Of course, we are doing from direct speech to indirect speech, isn't it? As you know, narration means conversion of your direct speech into indirect and indirect to direct. This activities is called narration in our grammar chapter. You know very well in my first class, isn't it? Now, today we are doing narration on imperative sentence. And you know very well imperative sentence. What is imperative sentence? In my last classes, when we were actually learning voice change, that time I also widely discussed what is imperative sentence, isn't it? And how does imperative sentence look like? The structure, of course. Now again, today we are dealing with imperative sentence in narration, isn't it? Now you see, I have taken here 4 examples just to show how they can be converted from direct speech to indirect speech. When you are seeing some part of the sentence in between inverted, that means you are getting here direct speech. This is your direct speech, okay? Direct speech. When you are getting a part of sentence in between inverted commas, that means this is your direct speech at a glance, isn't it? Now, all this part of all the sentences that you see direct speech, then you are directed here to do indirect sentence of all these direct parts of the sentence, isn't it? Now at first you see, father said to me, read newspaper regularly. You know very well, imperative sentence means when you like to do command, order, when you like to do request someone, isn't it? And when you like to advise someone, in all these cases, we generally use imperative sentence, isn't it? At that time, your sentence begins with V1, and for negative, your sentence of course begins with V1. V1 means present form of the verb. When in this case, when it is your imperative sentence, when you are expressing either advice, order, request, tell, ask, etc., isn't it? Then you have to make your sentence imperative 1, and your sentence begins with V1. That means present form of the verb. In simple present form, তোমাকে সেন্টেন্সটা স্ট্রাকচারটা করতে হবে। এর ফর্মটাই আছে V1 plus object. This is your object, isn't it? So V1 plus object, this is your imperative sentence. Now here also go out V1, and this is your complement. I have already showed you V1 plus complement, also the structure of imperative sentence in my early classes. You got it. And if the sentence is negative, then there must be don't. When the sentence is negative, then you have to begin your sentence with don't, isn't it? Don't plus V1 plus either object or complement, isn't it? In this way, generally we get imperative sentence when imperative sentence is used only for second person, and when imperative sentence is used in case of first and third person. I have already told all these things in my last classes, isn't it? Then we see our sentence begins with let, okay? Now you see, this is your imperative sentence, and here you see either your sentence expresses order, request, advice, etc., isn't it? Now you see, father said to me, read newspaper regularly. তার মানে এটা কি আছে? অ্যাডভাইস আছে, ফাদার অ্যাডভাইস দিচ্ছে নিউজ পেপার রেগুলারলি পড়তে। ইন দিস কেস নাও ইউ স্টার্ট ডুইং ইয়োর indirect speech. Okay, in place of said to, what you write, advised. Okay, now you said listener, this is your speaker, this is your listener. Father advised me. Now what the rule you have to apply when you do them direct speech? If your sentence begins only with V1, then no problem, you just said two. Okay, then you set the rest part of the sentence. Okay, read newspaper regularly. Okay, done. This is not so tough. If you see your sentence begins with V1 like this V1, if you see your sentence begins with V1, then you should remember before the sentence you just set two, that is you do it infinitive. Okay, if you put only two before V1, this is V1, then other thing remain the same here, you see. So when you are doing from direct to indirect in this case of imperative sentence structure, when your sentence begins with V1, just you set two here. Okay, father advised me to read newspaper regularly. Done, isn't it? Now you see, mother said to Anita, don't go out in the sun. This is also kind of advice, isn't it? So I am writing mother advised. Clear? Maybe ordered, maybe ordered. Mother advised Anita. Clear? Mother advised Anita. Okay, now when you see your sentence begins with don't, then in place of don't you set not, just you set not. And now you see rest part V1 other thing. As you know from the first case, just before V1, that is just your present verb, you set your to, and rest part you set, rest part you just set. Done. Mother advised Anita not to go out in the sun. This is your V1. Here you do not have to change the verb, though your reporting verb is said. Your reporting verb is said. In our early cases, what we told there, if your reporting verb is past, then you have to change the verb of direct speech, present to past, future to past, and past to past perfect. All this I already told you. But in case of imperative sentence, you no need to change the verb despite your reporting verb is past, isn't it? What to do? What you have to do? Just you have to set to before V1. Okay, and then set your rest part, isn't it? This is how you can do from direct to indirect in case of imperative sentence, isn't it? And if your sentence begins don't, in place of don't you just set not, and before V1 you set to, like this, and other thing you just set. Okay, in this way you can very easily do, I mean you can change direct to indirect, isn't it? Now you see, she said to Probir, let us make a party. Very important. Is it okay? She said to Probir, let us make a party. These two sentences, this is also imperative sentence. Here, in case of these two cases, imperative sentence is used here when subject either first person or third person. Here you see subject first person. and here you see subject third person. So in case of first person and third person, the structure of imperative sentence, you see sentence begins with let. Sentence begins with let, that you have already known from my previous classes, isn't it? Now you see, very important thing, if you get here as, no other thing. If you get only here as, in 99 cases, you see your sentence expresses some proposal or suggestion, isn't it? When you get asked, what does it mean? That means speaker and listener both are included here. Ask means we are getting here speaker and listener both, isn't it? That time, in most cases, you see the meaning of the sentence tells you either some proposal or some suggestion, isn't it? In this case, in place of said to, what you have to write, you follow. She proposed or suggested. She proposed or suggested. Anyone you can write in place of said to. Okay. Now you here said to. You can set, no problem. Probir. He proposed or suggested to probir. Okay. Now here you have to set linker that. Mind it. In case when your imperative sentence begins with let, you should set that as your linker. Very important. This is your linker. Okay. You have to set that here as your linker when your imperative sentence begins with let. Okay. Now you see here I have written here, in this case you have to set should in place of let, isn't it? When you see your sentence expresses some proposal or suggestion, very simple to know this. If you get only as after let, nothing else, then you should remember your sentence expresses about some proposal or suggestion, isn't it? At that time, in place of said to, you have to write either proposed or suggested to probir. The listener you set, and you have to set linker in this case when your imperative sentence begins with let. Okay, now you see what to do. Then you have to use should in place of let. And as you know, when we do indirect speech, then we always set only assertive sentence. Whatever sentence you have in your direct speech, you have to change it imperative, that is assertive sentence. So you see that, okay, now for an assertive sentence we need subject. Now here subject is, that is objective subject is us, তার মানে এই আস সমান সমান এরা দুইজন, সি অ্যান্ড প্রবীর, তার মানে কি হয়ে যাবে, দে হয়ে যাবে, তাই না? তাহলে দেখো সি এবং প্রবীর মিলে কি হয়ে যাবে, ওরা বলছিল আমরা আমাদের, ঠিক আছে, সেটা হয়ে যাবে কি হবে, সাবজেক্ট দে হয়ে যাবে। তাহলে এখানে সাবজেক্টটা কি হয়ে যাবে, দে। ক্লিয়ার? এই আসটা এখানটায় দেতে কনভার্ট হয়ে গেল। ক্লিয়ার? এই আসের মধ্যে সিও আছে, প্রবীরও আছে। তাহলে আমি যখন এটা বলবো কাউকে যে সে প্রবীরকে প্রস্তাব দিয়েছিল যে তারা দিয়ে আমাদের ইনডাইরেক্ট স্পিচ করতে হবে, কারণ এখানে ছিল চল আমরা একটা পার্টি তৈরি করি, তার মানে তারা বলেছিল তারা একটা পার্টি তৈরি করবে, তাহলে তারাতে কনভার্ট হয়ে যাবে, তাই না? তাহলে দ্যাট দে, তাহলে আমি আগে সাবজেক্টটা এখানে বসিয়ে দিলাম, দিস ইজ ইউর সাবজেক্ট, মাইন্ড ইট। দেন ইউ হ্যাভ টু সেট ইউর ভার্ব। লেট সমান সমান কি করতে বলছে, শুড, বসিয়ে দাও শুড। ক্লিয়ার? নাও ইউ হ্যাভ টু সেট ইউর V1, okay, and you know before your main verb is your main verb, if you have to set any helping verb, as you know from my early classes, that helping verb always used before main verb. So সাবজেক্টের পর ভার বসাতে হবে, তাই মেকটা আমার V1. At the same time, I have already told you let equal to should, and you know should is your helping verb, isn't it? Helping verb. So we know very well that before setting main verb we have to write helping verb should. So they should. Okay, now I am getting some space here. They should make a party. Clear? Done. তাহলে কি লিখলাম? she proposed or suggested to Kobit that they should make a party. This is your helping verb চলে আসলো, let সমান সমান, this is your V1 চলে আসলো, all this thing done, isn't it? তাহলে কি লিখলাম? that they should make a party. Okay, whenever you get us, nothing else, only then you have to follow this structure. That is, that time you should know the sentence expresses either proposal or suggestion, and that time you have to set either proposed or suggested in place of said, and you use to probe it, and you have to, don't forget to use linker that in this case, isn't it? When your imperative sentence begins with let, then you have to use linker that, and then you have to set an assertive sentence. At first you have to set subject, আসটা দে হয়ে সাবজেক্ট হয়ে আসলো, দেন লেট সমান সমান শুড হয়ে গেল, দেন ইওর V1 বসে গেল অ্যান্ড এ পার্টি, ইজন্ট ইট? ভেরি সিম্পল. নাও ইউ সি, he said to his friend, let Robbie do the work, isn't it? This sentence is not expressing any proposal or suggestion. This is wish. Sentence expresses some like and the wish, isn't it? And nothing about proposal and suggestion we are getting from this sentence. Moreover, whenever you get anything rather than us, if you get here anything rather than us after late, then you use other structure, isn't it? That time you don't use propose and suggestion, isn't it? Very simple. If you get only us, then you use this rule. If you don't get us here but anything else, then you follow the other rule. That time everything will be same, but in place of let, either you have to use might or might be allowed to. Any one of the two you have to set in place of let. This much difference you have to make, isn't it? Now you see, he, in this case you can write tell, ask, you can write, because this type of sentence is not expressing any proposal or suggestion. Okay, because here you are not getting us, isn't it? Something else you are getting, isn't it? So he asked, you can use here, or you can use here also told, also you can use here told, no problem. Okay, in place of said to. Then he asked or told his friend, okay. Now I have already told you, if your imperative sentence begins with let, then you use your linker that, mind it. Clear? Then you set in assertive form. Now you see, Robbie is here subjunctive object, that is you have to treat it your object, subject. When you like to get a subject first in setting your assertive sentence, that time you have to treat this objective subject as your subject. তাহলে আমি কি পাচ্ছি? রবি. তার মানে he asked or told his friend, let Robbie do the sum. Robbie is somebody else, isn't it? Robbie is not the name of the friend, so it is not Robbie, mind it. It is not Robbie. Okay, he said to his friend is somebody else and Robbie is somebody else, isn't it? So Robbie is your subject. Clear? That subject you are getting to have for making your assertive sentence. This is your subject, isn't it? Now you set let equal to might or might be allowed to. Any one of the two you can set. Either you set might or you set might be allowed to. Isn't it? Now you set the rest part of the sentence. You already did Robi and let, you already said. Now the rest part, do the work, isn't it? So you said do the work. Now what we are getting, that Robi might do the work or Robi might be allowed to do the work, isn't it? If you consider you like to use might, not might be allowed to, then what would be the sentence structure? Robi might do the work. This is your helping verb and this is your main verb. Okay? And this is your subject. Subject, verb, and the work হচ্ছে object. That means you have already got your assertive sentence structure. If you like to say might be allowed to in place of might, then what you are getting, Robi might be allowed to do the work. Okay, in this way you have to complete from direct speech to indirect speech when you are getting imperative sentence, isn't it? In reverse way you can say when you are doing narration, that is you are going from indirect to direct or direct to indirect, then you have to follow all these rules. Okay, when your sentence begins with v1, then how you can do. If your sentence begins with don't, isn't it? How you can do. If your sentence begins with let, then how you can treat the sentence and you can do. All this structure you have to follow in this way. Okay, I suppose everything got so clear to you, isn't it? If you have any problem, any confusion, you use your comment box putting your question, isn't it? Thank you so much. I must say you always stay with me. You set yourself connected with my all classes on regular basis. Then you can learn a lot of things, isn't it? Every day, as you know, I am giving you my classes in this way. If you think my all these classes, my all effort is giving you some helping you some getting knowledge on English grammar, isn't it? You do comment, isn't it? Thank you so much. Have a good day.